Hello, everybody. Welcome to Conscientious Omnivore. My name is Pal. Looks like we're live, so I'm going to wait for everybody to join. We're going to be doing a Q&A session today, a little bit different than in the past. I don't have any guests on. I don't have any debates going on right now. Just going to be talking to you guys because I feel like I often leave everybody out when I'm doing the debates. I'm really focused on the on the people who are on or the guests, and I simply just can't keep up. I can't multitask very well, so I can't read the comments in the chat and follow all the the conversation. So I think today, hopefully, I'm going to get a few people joining in, and then I'll be answering your questions and maybe just talk about some stuff that is going on and kind of interesting in the news. There's a lot of stuff always going on. I follow a lot of things on Twitter and I post a lot of things there too. So happy to talk to some of the things that I've been posting there if people have questions on that or anything else, talking about the gardening or whatever might be going on. So it looks like I've got a couple viewers already. Welcome everybody. Let me jump in here, see who's in. Hey Race Lover. Welcome, man. Race Lover says, how did Race Lover get so sexy? We just don't know. We just don't know. But it's undeniable. We got one thumbs up already on the video. That's cool. Thanks. Hope everybody's doing well. Looks like we got 3 viewers so far. It's a Friday night for me, so pretty laid back right now. I think everybody else might still be working in the US or just finishing up work. Hopefully this is going to be a fun kind of way to end the work week for people. I keep going back to my Hangout screen because I'm so used to expecting somebody to be there, but it's really funny. I feel kind of strange. And let me, Race Lover says, did I see the new Vegetable Police, the new video? I saw one that he posted not too long ago. I think it was it was definitely today, a few hours ago. I don't know if he's done a new one since then. Let me just check really quick. And if it's the one that I saw, I will definitely comment on that one. Yeah, okay, 20 hours ago. That was probably the carnivore diet 30 days before and after. Is that the one you mean? Let me just go to his main channel or go to the actual channel and see if he's done anything newer, but I think that's the one you mean, Race. Yeah, that's his most recent one. So yeah, I did watch that one today. And yeah, I'll definitely talk about that. I guess yeah, let's wait for some more people to join in because I don't want to jump into that real quick before other people. I mean, I'm hoping to get a few more people in. I'm sure a lot of people are interested in that. It's a frustrating topic. I actually was debating in my own mind whether I want to do a video on that at all. I mean, I think hopefully most people know my content, anybody who's watching now, but I try to keep things positive. I really don't like smearing people, and if there's something that I don't really like going on, I don't usually like to talk bad about people, especially like people within the vegan movement. I really don't like infighting, and I don't like drama. So I mean, if you look through my videos, I don't have any of that. I will go after people if I feel they're being kind of outrightly malicious or kind of mean-spirited or things like that. But yeah, I don't really like just fighting for the sake of drama and views. But yeah, I'll definitely talk about that. And I also want to check real quick if I got any more questions on my Q&A announcement video. I just want to see that. Give me 1 second. Yeah, I don't think I got any new questions. It was just a couple comments. Marie had actually said that she wants to see some stuff about permaculture and food preservation and things like that. So I'll talk a little bit about that too. But yeah, there were no new questions posted. Hey, Bohan, see you in. Says, did I see the truth about vegetable felice from Foot Soldier? Yeah, I did watch that, and I agree. It does destroy the nonsense that vegetable felice is saying. It says you can just point out to people if you don't want to make a vid. Yeah, I do think he covered it well. I would just add just one or two things and kind of give my own perspective on it. So I'll definitely talk about that in a little bit. Hey, Marshall Lee, how's it going, man? Yeah, thanks for the vote of confidence there. I'll talk about it, I guess, a little bit. Okay, so yeah, I mean, we'll start. Let me see how many people are in. Yeah, we got 6 people. Anyway, let's make a start. So yeah, I guess you know what's my take on vegetable felice, right? I'm actually you know, pretty upset about it. I think a lot of people are. There are definitely you know, kind of good reasons to be upset. I think it would be a lot easier to not be upset if you thought he was being kind of malicious or just doing it for the views, because then you could just be like, well, whatever. He's not a vegan, and he's just, you know, like you see these, like, you know, ex-vegan videos on Spherage's channel and all these guys. Like, I don't really get angry at those people. I think they're really just kind of, you know, people who were into veganism for a very short amount of time. So they just kind of like, you know, it makes for good viewing and good entertainment to see these people say like, yeah, I went on a vegan diet for, you know, 3 weeks and it almost killed me. And now I'm stuffing my face with burgers. And, you know, that's just, it's almost laughable. But yeah, Ray says he feels vegetable felice was a sleeper cell that just got activated. I just think, you know, that's kind of a long time to go for, you know, for doing something like that. Like, I don't think he's doing it for the views. I think he's very, I don't know, just misguided and just like, I mean, I don't want to ever, like, you know, insult somebody's intelligence or whatever, but like, he's just not very sharp. I mean, the guy just doesn't have a good understanding and a good grasp of like, you know, science and just like, I don't know, like basically like logic. I think he's just really easily manipulated. He's like, yeah, just I don't want to like really be too harsh on him because I like him. So I've been watching Vegetable Felice for a long time, actually since longer than before I've been doing this channel. So I've probably been watching him the whole time I've been vegan, pretty much. So going on close to 3 years now, I've been watching the guy. And I've had kind of on-off periods where I watched him and then I stopped watching him. And a lot of that is actually because of the way he kind of you know, the way he kind of approaches things. So what I mean by that is like, I started watching him when he was just doing kind of like the comedy stuff and just like the music kind of like things. And I really enjoyed that. I thought it was like really funny. He had really good, like kind of personality and the way he kind of talked about stuff and his deadpan kind of like humor. So I really liked that. And I was getting into it. And then I was seeing him like grow, you know, I think when I started watching him, he probably only had like, I don't know, 1,500 subscribers or something. He may have even had less than that. I don't remember. And, you know, it was like definitely lower quality, like production and stuff like that. But I did really enjoy it. And then, you know, he kind of started getting into these like weirder and weirder kind of like dietary kind of tests and these like trials that he was doing. And it just got like weirder and weirder. I just really kind of didn't really appreciate it. And then, you know, he kind of started doing stuff, which I kind of felt was a little bit like for views, where he started kind of, you know, slagging some of the plant-based doctors like Dr. Greger. And I was just kind of like, yeah, I mean, he's sort of just like almost, you know, kind of mocking the science and saying like, yeah, that's fine. But the tests don't tell you how you feel and all this kind of stuff. And to some extent, I mean, I kind of get what he's saying. And there's something to be said for, you know, you really have to be able to listen to your body, but yeah, like you can't just, you know, like, disavow science and like totally ignore like actual logic and reason. And I think that's kind of what he, you know, yeah. Thanks, Chris. So yeah, like what I want to say here is that basically he started getting into these weirder and weirder diets, and I just kind of was like, yeah, I'm losing interest. This guy's just not really, like on point here. He just doesn't understand like what's going on, and his kind of recurring health problems are because he's just doing these wacky things instead of just doing a well-rounded whole food plant-based diet. And I know he kind of mocks that, and he even jokes around about it, that like, well, why can't he just do something like that? Like, why does he have to be so extreme? Why does he have to be all like 80-10-10, high carb, low fat, or just like all fat, no carbs? It's like the ketogenic stuff. Yeah, they're these extremes are just that. They are extremes. Like for most people, they probably won't be good. They won't work. They won't be a good diet to follow. So I kind of got frustrated with that. And then I kind of stopped watching him for a while. And then, I don't know what, but like, I think he probably just did like one of the Sverige videos that he did. I thought that was hilarious. He just nails that guy's voice and mannerisms so well. I kind of started rewatching him around that time. And I thought he was really funny. And then he was doing all the green screen stuff. And I thought that those were some of the really funniest videos he had. Those were really good. The cat stuff was really funny. And so then I started watching him again. And then he had the whole like Nazi thing. And I was just like, oh my God, like this guy's just out of his mind. Like, like what is going on? He's like one of these people where in the movie Spinal Tap, I think it's David St. Hubbins. There's this scene where he says I believe virtually everything I read. And I think Vegetable Police, like Casey is sort of like this. Like, it's like he gets it in his mind. Like he reads somebody's, thing or sees somebody's video, and he just like believes it. And then he just thinks like, okay, this is it. Like, this is the thing, like if I eat nothing but, the fermented, whatever the heck, and the, I don't know. Then he just like goes wholeheartedly into this new thing, and then that's like what's gonna heal him. And he does the Amin Ra stuff, and oh, I'm only eating 1,500 calories and all this kind of stuff. And then it's like, yeah, I don't have very much energy, or my brain is foggy. And it's like, well, yeah, like I would be foggy as hell on 1,500 calories too, And he's like active. He's riding his bike. He's doing all this kind of stuff. He's trying to do the pull-ups and the workouts. Like, I mean, anybody who's watching, like, like if you're active, you need more calories, right? And like, just like he's kind of a short guy from what I gather from just watching him. And I think he's gone over his specs. So, he probably doesn't need like as many calories as somebody who's taller, but still, like, I would just think like an active guy, like there's no way you should be eating less than 2,000 calories. So I think most of his problems just come from these weird things that he's doing, these weird protocols. And so then when he did the Nazi thing, I was just like, man, I'm out of here, like done watching him, like not watching him anymore. And then, then I think, yeah, when did I start rewatching him? It was like months went by again. And I think I started watching him when he was moving back to, or when he was moving to Thailand, and or he was getting ready to move to Thailand. I think that's kind of when I started rewatching him. And I don't know again what brought me in, but probably just something in like YouTube suggestions or whatever. And I just started watching him again. And at that time, I think my wife and I, like, she hadn't really seen any of his stuff, and so we just started watching his like, travel and like move to Thailand together. And she was like finding that interesting, and she didn't know any of his backstory. So she just thought he was kind of nuts and kind of funny. And hey, Foggy, nice to see you, man. Thanks. Marshall Lee says he's 178 and eats 3,300 calories a day. Yeah, I mean, that's totally it, man. I mean, I'm even a little bit taller than you. I'm like 182, and I don't know how many calories I eat, but on a day when I go for like a long run or whatever, like, I mean, I definitely eat, like, I probably eat way more than that even. So I can't imagine, him being okay on 1,500 calories. So, yeah, like, you're right, Foggy. He is a kind of a human experiment. He's like doing experiments on himself that are just kind of like crazy. Like, it's like, I'm convinced he would have actually been fine probably 10 years ago if he just kind of started eating normally. And I know he kind of mocks people who say that to him, but I mean, I truly believe that. And if you look at his, his most recent video, so the one where he talks about being on the carnivore diet, he contradicts himself so many times, like just in that video. He's like mocking people who are saying that the problem is he's doing the 1 meal a day thing. And if you look in like a lot of his videos, he's saying that he's eating like 1,500 calories, 1,600 calories, all this kind of stuff. He's doing the Amun-Ra protocol, and he's being really active like while he's doing that. And then he's kind of like, oh, I'm just barely able to put on muscle. And it's like, well, yeah, like how do you expect to be putting on muscle if you're not in a calorie surplus? Like, it's just really, really difficult. And to even just maintain, not even forget, like, to put on muscle. So it's like he's doing this stuff. He's shortchanging himself with the calories, and he's like complaining about it pretty much. So it's just kind of this crazy thing. And then in his most recent video, when he's saying how he's been eating beef basically for the past 30 days, he says that he's eating 2,000 calories a day, and then he's saying he's feeling so satiated and whatever. And it's like, yeah, man, like you're eating, almost like, what is that, 40% more calories or something like that? It's close to 50% more calories a day. Like, you're going to feel satiated. Like, yeah, man. I mean, it's like, and it's just so crazy. Like the amount of times he contradicts himself in those videos. The one where he says that he's thinking about giving up veganism, and he's joking around about, eating the crickets and whatever and all this kind of stuff. If I didn't like the guy, I would be a lot more harsh on him. Like, but I have unsubscribed now. So, I mean, I'm kind of like done with him. Like, I don't really even know like what to say. I mean, I feel sorry for him. I really do. If I knew him personally, or if I thought that he would like take a message or something, like, and actually like take it, on board, I would just say simply that, like, yeah, man, like, you're messing up your health. I mean, you're drinking turpentine. Like, I mean, come on, dude. Like, seriously, like, he hasn't even gone to like a doctor as far as I can see. Like, yeah, 10 years ago he was, but ever since then, he's just been like self-diagnosing, like not doing any kind of like actual, attempt at like trying to figure out what the heck is going on. So I just, I get frustrated with people like this. I know some people like this in real life where they are sort of kind of like hypochondriacs, or maybe not quite like clinically, but they definitely have this kind of feeling of always being like something's wrong. Like, they get a headache and it's like, oh, I must have like cancer, and it's like, I just can't relate to that, because like usually I feel pretty okay, and I'm really grateful for that. So I'm not trying to slight it. If somebody does feel bad, like, you should definitely go, get yourself checked out. And, I don't go to the doctors unless I feel pretty damn sick. So, I'm maybe I'm on the other end of the spectrum, but certainly I think if I felt the way that some of these people I know personally describe themselves, I would for sure go to the doctor. And, like the way Casey describes his problems, like something that doesn't heal in 10 years, like I would certainly go to the doctors and I would get that checked out. But I mean, he's just totally illogical. Like, I mean, he's saying like he feels good after 30 days of this. A lot of these kind of problems that come from the health consequences that come from eating meat don't arise in 30 days. It takes a lot longer for that stuff to really give you a problem. And well, that's a good question. I got a question from 123 Leo 123. How do you think Milk Jar came to his conclusions about veganism? That actually ties in neatly to what we were just talking about now. I think, Vegetable Police, I could seriously see him being the next Milk Jar in like another, 6 months. If he feels good on this diet, he's not going to change, like who the heck would, right? Like, unless there's a problem, people are very, very unlikely to change. And so what I think what happens is you watch like Milk Jar's videos where he talks about how he became a vegan and what he was eating and all this kind of stuff. And what a lot of these raw meat, paleo, primal guys are doing, they're basically starving themselves, just like Vegetable Police did. They're eating probably way too few calories without even realizing it. A lot of them are doing like raw diets, or, just not getting enough calories in general. And they're being very active. They're trying to be healthy. They're doing a lot of like physical activity, biking, exercise, whatever. And then they're basically, feeling like garbage. They don't have enough energy. They get the brain fog. They lose the sex drive, whatever the complaints are. I mean, all of these videos on Sverage's channel, they all follow the same pattern. Undereat, like feel bad. And then you start eating like calorie dense foods, like, dairy products, animal products in general, like, meat, eggs, whatever. Hi, Chubby Donut. So yeah, you just start, eating these calorie dense foods and really rich foods like butter and eggs. And then all of a sudden they feel like magic that like, wow, it must be the animal, it must be the animal products. And then they just go whole hog into this, sorry for the expression, into this thing of like, yeah, like I got to eat animal products. That's what, there's like magic in there, Hey, Tim, he says, just for kicks, put in 38 ounces, 2,000 calories of ribeye into Chronometer. I'm sure it's deficient in a whole bunch of stuff. This is another thing, right? In the Vegetable Police video where he's in the carnivore one, the one that he just did 20 hours ago or whatever, he says that, he's still eating one meal a day. And so that proves that the people who complain to him that he's eating one meal a day and that's the problem, that they're wrong. What he doesn't realize is like the classic, picture of the person's stomach where, you put in 400 calories of cheese. It's like, this much, it's this tiny amount. You put in, 400 calories of meat. It's probably like the size of your fist. You put in 400 calories of potatoes. It's like 5 fists or whatever. I don't know, maybe exaggerating, but you get the picture. It's like you put in salad or fruit. It's like huge. So if you're eating, the 1,500 calories, 1,600 calories in one meal, or in this case, the 2,000 calories of the beef, that's going to be a much smaller amount. So even if you're eating that in one sitting, like it's still going to be way less stressful for you physically. Like it's not going to expand your stomach as much as eating like, say, all the salads and the veggies, or even things like potatoes, or, healthy things like rice and, other things that Vegetable Police was eating at the restaurants. Although, of course, he was eating all of those with like probably a lot of salt and oil added, because restaurant food is always like that. So, yeah, like I think that's a big part of the problem is he was under eating. The guys that are all, in all of these videos, they all have that as a common denominator. They're usually trying some extreme diet. It's not just like a average kind of normal whole food plant-based diet where you're getting enough calories. He's complaining about not getting enough protein. I mean, his video is almost like as if he had never even heard of the counter arguments against like veganism before, and he's just like spouting all of them like one after the other. His comments in his own videos are so ridiculous too. I just read through some of them where he's basically trying to justify the killing of the cow because they're grass fed and they're going to die anyway, and what's better if they get eaten by a wolf or slaughtered at the thing humanely. And it's like, I mean, he's just literally like going through the checklist of like, silly, uninformed, uneducated things to say against veganism. Because once you look into all of these things, you realize that, they're just not logical. There's a good explanation, a good reason for all of those things. And, if he's, been a vegan for 10 years, he should know the answer to all of those, like just like out of his pinky, just shake it out. And they're all there. But clearly he's not logical. He's not kind of like reason based. And, yeah, it's not even really just like, it's not even about a science approach. It's more just like logic. His response to the OMAD thing, the one, that's just, that has nothing to do with science. That's just like basic common sense. Like if you're eating 2,000 calories of plant food, especially unprocessed plant food, that's a big volume to eat. And if you have digestive issues or like an upset colon or whatever, like, of course that's going to stress it out. Of course it's going to be a lot of stuff to process, all at one time. Whereas if you're just eating 2,000 calories of a condensed, calorie-rich, food, if he was just eating eggs or butter or in this case the beef, like, of course it's going to be lower volume. So it's probably not going to bother him as much. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Lee. He says his logical reasoning is the only thing stopping him from taking responsibility for his actions. Hey, Brian. Yeah, we're talking about Vegetable Police. So I agree with that. I mean, he's just like, he's just totally illogical, and he's not using like reasoning and, sound like scientific, kind of like understanding of things. And he's just justifying that, like, yeah, like he's tried everything, but he really hasn't. I mean, if you haven't even gone to a doctor to like actually try to figure out like, what is wrong with you, it's just like you're way off, man. 1, 2, 3. Leo says, do I know my cholesterol levels? Yes, I do. I don't know if I have them here. Let me see, because I'm on another computer right now. Let me see if I can find them real quick. Hold on, because I can find them in my Google Drive. Give me 1 second. Basically, my cholesterol got dramatically reduced after about a year of being vegan. And let me just see. I think it's in this folder. Yeah, here it is. So my cholesterol had never really been high by most standards, like as far as what like generally accepted science will tell you. But of course, like if you look at the plant-based doctors and even Lauren Cordain's research, if you are actually over a total of 150 milligrams per deciliter, that's actually already high. So yeah, here it is. I just found it. I actually have this in a video too, so if you want to see the details, check out my video. It's an older one. I have a video in my health playlist where I go through the kind of like common health consequences of animal product consumption, and I have details, and I talk about my cholesterol in there. But basically, my overall cholesterol went from 189 to 104. And my LDL went from 117, almost 118. It was almost 118 and went down to 58. So I cut that in half. I cut my LDL in half, and my total, I went down from 189 to 104. It's a pretty dramatic, drop. And let's see. Ryan says, nice. Yeah, I was like really happy about that. I actually did the test specifically just to find out kind of if there was a change. I intuitively kind of, knew that it must have dropped. And this was actually like a really powerful, kind of like message to me to reaffirm what I had already kind of come to believe from watching all the stuff from like Dr. Greger and Dr. McDougall and people like them. Because, they talk so much about this idea of the arteries being clogged and all this kind of stuff. And, if you watch like Forks Over Knives or What the Health, a common kind of side effect of a whole food plant-based diet is, especially in men, they report, better erections, better sexual function. And even though, I've been kind of pretty healthy for the last, I would say maybe 15 years or more, I got into pretty good shape, I would say in around 2005, 2006. So, I mean, past 12 years, I would say I've been in pretty good shape. I was pretty decent shape before that. And I never had complaints in that department, I would say. But definitely after even just a few months of being vegan, I started getting compliments. And, it was just noticeably better. So I figured like, this is exactly kind of what they say, that, the arteries, of the heart are not the only place that the plaques form and build up and cause problems and blockages. So when I had experienced that, I figured, like for sure the cholesterol readings would get better. And I went and I did a blood test after about a year of being vegan, and I was just very pleasantly surprised at the results. Foggyland says, I see you do gardening. As far as I know, carnivore manure is bad quality, or at least it is compared to herbivore manure. Is that true? Can you elaborate? So what I know about that is this. If you look at a gray water system, like for, reclaiming some of the water that you use, like in your kitchen, if you are a vegan, the water from your sink in your kitchen is considered gray water, and you can use it in your garden. If you are a meat eater and eating animal products, that water is considered black water. So just intuitively, that should really kind of tell you, what, just like what kind of difference we're talking about. Black water is like sewage. Sewage is considered black water. You obviously can't put that directly out onto the garden. It's definitely, containing pathogens and all sorts of bacteria that is potentially very dangerous if you ingest that back. Like if you're, peeing or, something like directly on your veggies or something, and then just eating that or whatever, you could be getting sick. There could be, same thing if you have like human feces, like contaminating your fruits and veggies, that you can obviously get sick. And the thing is with I'm not sure if you meant like carnivore manure, like say from a cat, like cat manure. Like cat poop would certainly not be something you would want to put onto your garden. Cat feces definitely contains tons of like pathogens and like dangerous viruses. People can get really sick from having like cat poop. Like even in the house, it's kind of dangerous if you have little kids and stuff. If you read up on this, you'll see there's a lot of science to support that. You really want to be careful. Like if you have animals in the house and you have small children, because they definitely put everything in their mouths. And, the cats are probably walking around and touching stuff that the kids are touching, and then they put it in their mouth. They could certainly get sick. So yeah, if that's what you mean from animals, then definitely I would say, you're probably better off using like, horse manure or cow manure even probably, but rather than say like cat manure. But I would say even just your own manure as a human, if you're eating a whole food plant-based diet, it's probably going to have a lot less contamination than a person eating animal products. But with all of that said, if you're even considering using any kind of manure, I would say, definitely do your research. If you're buying stuff from a store, that's already been treated. Usually if you have manure, they do different kinds of, like treatments. It's either been composted for a long time, or they do what's called hot composting, where the temperature is raised above a certain level for a certain amount of time, and then it's safe because it kills off all the pathogens and bacteria and stuff that could be harmful. Yeah, and then there are books about human manure. I'm still learning about this, so I would absolutely, not give any kind of advice or instructions on it yet, because I don't feel qualified to speak on it. It's something that's interesting to me, and I want to read more about it before I could really kind of tell you guys anything about that. But if you look up people like Brad Lancaster, he's got awesome videos about like rainwater harvesting and, reusing gray water and even human manure. And he's able to, use that in his garden, and it's really interesting stuff. So I'd definitely check him out, Brad Lancaster. Let's see. Lee says typical dog manure can make you blind, etc. Horse manure won't do that to you, though. Yeah, that's pretty much what I understand to be the case as well. Brian says heavy metal contamination in bird manure is a problem. That's definitely likely to be the case. They also are often contaminated with arsenic if you're talking about like poultry. So like chickens and stuff that are raised for food. For slaughter, turkeys, same thing. They actually get fed arsenic on purpose, and that also, contaminates their waste as well as their feathers and the blood meal that often gets sold for fertilizer. So you definitely want to be careful with that stuff. I personally don't use any manure in the garden now. I'm trying to do like what's called a back to Eden gardening. So I do heavy mulching. That's kind of the way I'm going to try to go. So I'm going to be using leaves and mulched up, twigs, branches, wood, that kind of stuff. And I've got several videos on that, so check that out if anybody's interested in the details. Leo says, what do I think about a raw vegan diet like the one Logan promotes? Before I jump into that, I'll answer Brian's question. He says, what's my educational background? Because that's an easier answer. My educational background is I studied mechanical engineering. So I have a mechanical engineering degree. I have a minor in German studies, which is kind of funny because my German is almost non-existent at this point. And I never actually worked a day as an engineer. I went into kind of like an IT role while I was still in college and studying. And then when I finished school, I kind of made up two resumes. So I had like a IT resume, and then I had a engineering resume, and then I applied for both kind of jobs, and I got an IT job quicker. So then I was pretty much just went into IT. Let's see. Okay, in the raw vegan diet, yeah. So what do I think about it? I think Logan and I have talked a little bit about this just informally. Raw vegan diets to me are just sort of like unnecessarily kind of hard and probably not necessary for most people. I definitely think there may be some advantages to eating lots of raw fruits and veggies. I definitely eat lots of fruit and those are usually raw. I don't usually cook my fruits. I do eat a lot of raw veggies as well, and try to eat salads and stuff as often as possible. But I just find that like to be kind of dogmatic about it and say that that's the only thing you can eat, or that that's the healthiest way to eat, I don't think that's helpful. I think it kind of puts off a lot of people. I think it is more difficult just from a convenience standpoint. you know, than just doing like cooked foods, and that's a big thing. You know, I think a lot of people, like if you're already kind of cooking for yourself, you're already spending a lot of time in the kitchen for most people, and to make that even more onerous, it's just unnecessarily, you know, making your life more difficult. That's my view on it, but I'm certainly not against it. If it's working for somebody, then great. But what I worry about is when I see people that are not getting enough calories, they're clearly under eating, and they think like, oh, I can't eat like, you know, a pile of potatoes because like, oh, they're not raw. Like, I just think you're missing out on a lot of good foods like beans and even things like rice. I know there are some ways that you can eat that stuff raw, or like potatoes, you can, you know, air dry them or cook them or whatever, where it's technically still raw, like dehydrate them and stuff. I just think, you know, you're just making it more difficult for yourself than it needs to be. And I know several people personally who, you know, tried it for a while, and just after a few months, you just can't really stick to it as well. I'm not saying you can't, and if you can, you know, great for you. I'm just saying, like, in general, I certainly wouldn't want to do it myself. I feel really great and healthy the way I am now. And I certainly, if I thought I was having problems and that might help, I would certainly consider trying it. So I'm not like down on it, but I think for most people, it's probably unnecessary and not really, you know, going to be easy to stick to. But like Logan says, that's not an argument against it. It's just more like, hey, I just don't think it's convenient. Okay. Oh, hey, Generally, I see you. Yeah, you kind of missed a little bit of stuff in the beginning, but anyway, you could rewatch it later. Let's see. Fogline says, I meant from the perspective of the plant, is carnivore manure as nutritious and clean for the seed as herbivorous one? Okay, I guess we answered that. So next, hey, Jack. He says, are you on other social media? You can't get on Twitter. Oh, man, I'll have to send you an email or something. Just send me an email. I have my email address on my About page. If you go to the channel description, it's really long. It's consciousomnivore@gmail.com. So if it wasn't hard enough to remember conscientious omnivore, it's consciousomnivore@gmail.com. And just send me an email there, and I'll send you the stuff that I wrote into Twitter. Hopefully you can get back in there. Because we got to work on that collab, man. I figured out something that should be really funny. So for anybody who doesn't know, Jacko and I are going to do a collaboration together. We're going to hopefully debunk Frank Tufano, and that should be a good one. So yeah, check your messages, man, if you can, and if not, send me an email and I'll send you what I wrote there. Brian says hum tea. I don't know what that is. And good. You'll email me. Good. I don't know. Bloody Frank. Yeah, that guy's just such a weird dude. I don't know. But he's got pretty impressive eyebrows. I mean, you can say that at least. So anybody else? Any questions? I think if we don't have questions, I actually have kind of a bit of an announcement that hopefully people are interested in. I actually recently just gave my notice at work. So I'm pretty excited about this. This is kind of like a big change for me. I've been working for the past like 17 years or more professionally, and probably like 20 plus years, actually more than that even. Yeah, like over 20 years if I count all my jobs like during college and, that kind of stuff. So I just felt like, I got to a point where I really want to get more in line with what my interests are. And I'm going to be working until the end of August. So I got another month to go at work. And then after that, I intend to really, really ramp up my efforts on this channel. So I'm actually really excited about that. I'm going to be doing a lot more stuff that is a little bit more time consuming, because right now I felt a little bit limited as to what I can do. And I've got like just a backlog of stuff that I want to work on. And I think it's going to be like good news for the fans of the channel. I think there's going to be a lot of fun stuff that I'm going to be able to do with having a little bit more time to focus on that. And I'll definitely be doing more videos about kind of some of the stuff I might be working on, because right now it's not exactly clear what I'm going to be doing as far as like, getting income. I definitely need income. I don't have like a ton of money saved up, but I have a little bit of a cushion saved up. Should allow me to work on stuff for at least a few months and give it an honest go. And I have a few ideas for doing some businesses and hopefully get some interesting stuff for the channel as well. Vohan had a question. Good. What's my opinion on bread? Bread, I think, is a pretty handy thing to have. I love bread. I actually bake bread. I have videos up on how to make sourdough and cook sourdough breads and stuff. So if anybody's a fan of bread, check those out. I think, bread and wheat in general, and especially gluten, I think has gotten a really bad name. And I was actually just reading a really interesting article that somebody linked on Twitter where they found evidence of prehistoric bread that was like, I don't know, like thousands of years like earlier than what the previous oldest confirmed like bread was. And it predates like agriculture by like some ungodly amount of time, like thousands of years. So it was like, it's just proof that people have been eating grains for a lot longer than they've been doing any kind of like modern agriculture. So these would have been wild grains that grow, and they were making bread from these. So I think it's pretty much kind of an ancient food. I especially think if you make stuff from whole wheat flour, I think it can be extremely healthy and good for you. Even if you're using white flour, I definitely still use white flour in some things. I don't think it's as big of a deal. I think for the most part, it is kind of empty calories. You're not really getting a whole lot of nutrition or nutrients. You are getting calories though. So I think, as a vegan, if you're eating a whole food plant-based diet, you're definitely getting enough fiber, and you're very likely getting enough like other nutrients from all the variety of fruits and veggies that you eat. So I think even if you're eating like white bread every once in a while, like I really don't think it's a big deal. I usually do use some white flour as well as some whole wheat flour or whole meal flour. I sometimes grind up oats and make flour out of that, and I add that to the to the bread dough, as well as sometimes I'll do like sesame seeds or other kind of nuts and seeds in the bread. I do flax seeds ground up in the bread. I do that very often, and that comes out really good. It adds kind of a little subtle sweet kind of taste to the bread, and I think that can be like really cool. So I've got some stuff on the channel about bread. Check those out if anybody's interested. And yeah, I definitely think it's gotten kind of a bad rap in the recent times, that like people are just so afraid of eating like white flour or bread in general. I mean, certainly whole wheat flour is definitely better for you than just like white flour. The more processed things are, that definitely they lose nutrition and value. Yeah, you guys are talking about the vegan camp out. I've seen a few videos on that on the for the UK people. Like those things just seem so awesome. I mean, I know a few people in real life that are vegan, but having a whole, camp out with like hundreds of people around, that would be so cool. Maybe someday I'll come over to the UK or something and do a visit when there's one of these going on. That would be really cool. Brian says he moved away from computer engineering for similar reasons. Yeah, man. I think there's kind of like a lot of stuff that we give away our creativity and we give away our time and energy to work for other people, and we sometimes could be doing something really useful and beneficial and even lucrative for ourselves, but we just simply don't have the time. And that's kind of where I felt like there's only so many hours in the day, and when I come home and I'm working on the videos and stuff, I mean, a lot of times I'm posting stuff at like 2 a.m. my time, and then I'm going to sleep, and I'm still waking up early because my kids are up, and then it's time to go to work. And it's hard to try to, do this on not enough sleep. And I just really feel like there's a few other things I want to try, and yeah, get into it while I'm still kind of young. Let's see. Cool. Thanks, Kathy. Thanks everybody for the encouragement. Yeah, I'm super excited about that. Liberate Slayer says start an anti-vegan removal agency. I'll make a ton of money. Yeah, that would be pretty funny. Yeah, so Vohan says he's not a whole boy. Yeah, yeah. So you like the white bread too? Yeah, it can be fine. I think if you're eating a healthy, other stuff, you're fine. Marshall Lee, yeah, grains called the staff of life for a reason. Absolutely, man. I mean, people have been eating grains for a long, long time, and it's cool to see science, like proving that as well. What is my take on yeast? I think eating too much yeast can certainly kind of mess up your stomach, as far as I know. I've never had any problems with it myself. In fact, when I was a kid, I used to love eating the little blocks of yeast. I still kind of love that smell and flavor. But the bread I make is 99% of the time sourdough, and sourdough is a bacteria, so it's like supposedly a little bit better for your gut. It's a helpful bacteria that ferments the dough and creates the same kind of fluffiness. It has some advantages besides that. It can also raise leaven flours that are not high in gluten. So for people who do have a legitimate gluten sensitivity or intolerance, you could potentially use other types of flour that either has low or no gluten and still raise that with sourdough. I've never tried doing, say, like just an oat flour, for example, but like spelt flour I've definitely done. And that's not a gluten-free flour, but it's definitely a lower gluten flour. So if somebody's having problems, you can potentially still make tasty bread with sourdough. Let's see, 2 more questions. Yeah, it's hard to scroll these things. Hold on. Shoot. Jack asked me if I drink alcohol. I actually have kind of like a weird thing with alcohol, because I used to drink, I would say, kind of casually, like socially is probably a good way to say it. I was never a huge drinker. In college, I definitely drank, I would say, more than is good for you, but certainly I don't think I ever had a problem with it. So it's not like I ever like sat down and said, okay, I'm just going to drink until I get drunk and great for me and whatever. Like, it was always just like, okay, my buddies and I would get together, we'd be playing music or, playing cards or just like watching a movie or something like that. And then like, a few beers go down or even some shots or whatever. But like, it wasn't like, let's sit down and play a drinking game just so we could get drunk. Like I was never into that. And then after college, I kind of like started drinking less and less. And it was more just like occasionally, like if we went out with friends or if we had a party at the house, stuff like that. So it's definitely just like a casual drinking kind of thing. And then lately, like the past, I don't know, like couple years, I would say maybe like 5 years or so, I've just been drinking less and less, to the point that I now am like seriously considering just like not drinking at all. So for the past like year or so, I think maybe I've had, I don't know, probably like no more than maybe a handful of drinks in the past like year. So like, and I haven't drank anything, I think, in at least a couple months. So yeah, it's very rare when I do drink. I'm kind of on the verge of like not drinking anymore at all, because I just feel like whenever I do drink, if I even have more than like 1 or 2 beers, like the next day I kind of feel it. Some of that might be, kind of like I'm getting old, but yeah, like I'll feel like joint pain and stuff, like just from drinking, and not even being like drunk at all. Like it's not like I'm dehydrated or anything like that. But I'll feel like my knees or my elbows or stuff like that, and I just don't like it. And unfortunately, I have some kind of like family kind of problems with alcohol. There's definitely some people in the family that I think drink more than is good for them and do have a problem with it. And I've known people kind of personally that also have problems with it, and it's just not fun being around. So like I just don't like being around people when they've had too much and they're inebriated, and I definitely don't want to get drunk to kind of catch up to them. So it's like it's just getting less and less fun when I'm around it. So I'm kind of like getting to the point where I probably won't drink. Let's see. Ray says the only better idea than working for yourself is to work for him. Yeah, that might be fun. What's the pay? Generally says good luck. Thank you very much. Let's see what other stuff we got. Well, lots of writing. How do I manage to stay so calm during the carnival debate? Lots of people have asked about this. I actually found carnival to be frustrating, more frustrating than some of the previous people I've debated. But ultimately, like I just kind of keep trying to keep myself grounded in the thought that I was actually very much like that guy up until even just, a few years ago. So like 4 or 5 years ago, I would have probably agreed with like 99% of what he said. It's very difficult to, for me to get mad with somebody when I just look back to a relatively short time ago and know that I would have, agreed with that guy. So I think he's very misinformed. I think he's just like not looked into the, the real like depth of the knowledge that is there supporting the, the claims for the health argument for a vegan diet, especially a whole food plant-based vegan diet. So I think it's just he's misinformed. I genuinely don't think that he's ill-intentioned. So that kind of helps me, have a little bit of compassion for the guy and try to, like bring him along the way a little bit. And then just the last thing on this topic is that for everybody that I've debated so far or just talked to in general, like I try to keep in mind what people like Joey Carbstrong and James Aspie and a lot of these other, wonderful activists like Earthling Ed is really good at this too. Like they all say this, that like you can't bring somebody from 0 to 100 where 100 is like fully vegan in one conversation. I guess theoretically maybe that's possible, but it would probably be like a 36-hour brainwashing session that would kind of look more like an indoctrination into an actual cult. It's like you just can't do that. Like people are not gonna go from 0 to 100 like in one sitting. So they'll move a few points. They'll maybe consider some of the stuff you say, and then hopefully that helps them along the way, that they're just that much farther. The next person they talk to can bring them another few points, and then maybe if you're at 79 or something, then one more conversation might bring them over. But you just really, I think, like you have to be patient with people and show them stuff and challenge them like from a science point of view and get them to really look at the stuff. And once, like my approach is pretty much always the same. Like I try to argue that like, look, it's unnecessary because you can be really healthy and happy, like eating a vegan diet. And if that is the case, then, what's the next logical step? If that's the case, then why are we doing this to animals? Well, it's because of taste, pleasure, and culture and tradition and convenience. And those things cannot justify, the killing of sentient beings. That's my approach. That's how I try to stay calm with these guys. Vohan says, what's my opinion on the eating of insects? I certainly wouldn't do it. I don't think it's necessary. I think they are still sentient, and so I wouldn't, they're definitely probably more gross in people's minds than like killing a puppy and eating that. But I still don't think, I try not to kill bugs on purpose, even in the garden. I think like one of the nice things about having like the mulch is that there's like a lot more space and kind of habitat for the bugs. I try to do lots of flowers and wild plants on the edge of the garden where it still attracts bugs and gives them habitat. So yeah, I wouldn't want to eat them. I don't think it's necessary. Brian says Carnival is a sad little guy. Yeah, I think he's really misguided. Let's see, keeps jumping. Generally says, I worked in IT my whole career until this year. Now I have my own company doing something totally different. Yeah, best decision. Cool, man. That's really awesome. Generally, that's exactly kind of what I hope is going to be the case, that I'll be reporting to you guys in the upcoming months, that I feel good about the decision. But right now, I just feel great. Oh, that was even higher than the insect question. Yep. Let's see. Jack Wacko, Dr. Greger's videos on alcohol made me sad. Yeah, I read his book, and there was quite a bit about alcohol as well. And definitely, it's not good for you. Carrie Eats Plants. Hey, Carrie. Welcome. Let's see. Ray says, vegan alcoholics are still better than carnist alcoholics. Yeah, probably, I guess. Carnival is definitely ill-intentioned. We're going to have to disagree on that one. Okay, I'm just... I think if he's convinced that he needs it to be healthy, like it's, he's not kind of like saying like, yeah, just screw the animals, I'm just eating them for fun. Like, I don't know. I guess that's where I would say like somebody would be like just really mean and like, he's not making the bacon is tasty though arguments. That's all I'm saying, I guess. Health versus bored. He's sleeping. That's fine. Neo Skeptic says, would you still be vegan if veganism caused some degree of health issues? That's a good question. It's a little bit difficult to answer. I guess I'm kind of like Hannibal from the A-Team in this regard, where I say I love it when a plan comes together. I view veganism as just this like almost like pinnacle of kind of like wonderfulness. You have an ethical argument for it that is fantastic. You feel, you know, kind of like morally good about the decision. So that's like awesome. You have really great, health consequences from it. It does improve your health, and far from it being, you know, a bad thing, it actually helps. And then the third thing is that you know that it's environmentally more sound and less damaging. So it's like 3 wins, and they're all huge. Now, if one of those went away, you know, or maybe just got lessened, like maybe you could be a little less healthy. I guess it's one of these like, it's just like this theoretical kind of like problem to consider. Like, so anything I say, I would hope nobody takes offense to it. I personally would probably not want to be vegan if I knew that it was causing some kind of health consequences. Foot Soldier had a really great video where he was talking about one of his buddies who back in like the 90s was convinced that like veganism was going to kill him, but he was going to do it anyway because he knew it was like ethically more correct. I guess if we put it in the human perspective, right? Like if the only way for me to be like healthy was to just kill people and eat them, like let's say that is the case, you know, because it's a theoretical as well. You know, would I be able to justify that I would go and kill a human being? I certainly wouldn't be able to do it with a human being. I wouldn't feel that would be okay. I certainly wouldn't be able to bring myself to kill a human being. With that said, if I was on an airplane crash, like in the, you know, the soccer team in the Andes, and there were dead people already, and I had to eat one of them to stay alive, like, yeah, I would definitely eat a dead person if I had to stay alive, because there was literally nothing else to eat. But, you know, again, I wouldn't be able to like kill my buddy who was sitting next to me, and he was maybe a little more weakened than I am from the starvation, and I'd kill him and eat him. Like, I wouldn't be able to do that. So yeah, I guess it's a little bit hypocritical to say then that I would do that with a dog or with like some other animal. It's just very hard. I guess it's just one of those things where I wouldn't be able to fault somebody if that's what they did because they had to do it, quote unquote. It's kind of like, I really don't think, you know, it's immoral for the lion to kill an animal and eat it because they have to. I just want to say that, you know, thankfully that is far from the case for people, and we are easily able to be even healthier eating plants than we are for eating animals. So that's kind of my view on it. Fohan says, do I speak Hungarian? Yes, I do. I'm fluent. I guess I'm a native speaker of both English and Hungarian. Kathy says, have you ever or would you like to do street activism like Anonymous for the Voiceless? I actually would. I have started kind of looking at some of the Hungarian websites. There's one that I've kind of featured in videos, and I can't remember it for the life of me off the top of my head right now. I think it's called Alatvédelem. I'm pretty sure that's the name of it, but I have to look that up. And I have gone to a animal sanctuary very recently, and I thought that was a great experience. So I absolutely would like to do some kind of street interviews. I don't know that I would want to do them in Hungarian, because I definitely feel a little bit more confident speaking in English, especially about kind of scientific things. And like, I don't often know some of the Hungarian terms for like the medical aspects of the health things that I like talking about. So it might be a little bit weird. But I think I could still do that. So, and there's enough English-speaking people in Hungary, like in Budapest specifically, that I think I could still make interesting videos about it if I wanted to do a video. But even if not for a video, I think it would be worthwhile. And I've definitely seen that there were Anonymous for the Voiceless presentations, or whatever you want to call them, like the Cube of Truth kind of stuff here in Budapest. Unfortunately, I think I haven't seen any recently. So like, I haven't seen one since I've been kind of active with this channel. And that is maybe something that I would, you know, absolutely be interested in getting into, like now that I will be leaving my job and I'll have more time, hopefully. So who knows, maybe. Let's see. Vohan says he's going to have a no bowl burger later. Enjoy it. Let's see. Favorite debate? Ooh, that's a good question, Kathy. I genuinely can say that I do actually enjoy all of them. Man, it's kind of hard. I don't know if I could pick one. I guess the one with Thomas was pretty good. When Logan and I debated Thomas, that one was really good because I think he was genuinely like kind of willing to concede some points, and he was like considering what we were saying, I think, better than a lot of the other people we talked to. So I think that was kind of a good one. Neo Skeptic says, thanks for answering this question. You're very welcome. Thanks for the question. It is an interesting one. Hey, Swag. Nice. I'm glad you made it. Yeah, you got back from the beach. Cool, man. We're definitely going to have to do a stream together. That's one of my many, many ideas for a video that I have in my backlog. I'll be doing a video about liberty, talking about the book by John Stuart Mill called On Liberty. And once I do my video, I kind of want to lay out kind of some ideas from that book. And then the idea is, Swag, that I would love to have you on, and maybe like Liam, because I think both of you guys kind of have a background in like libertarianism, and then I would love to ask you guys about that. So that's the idea. I'll definitely be in touch about that. It's like I don't know, let's say maybe like 2/3 ready to make that video, but I just haven't had time to finish it. Race asks, would you eat that dead person if it was milk jar or spheres, knowing you may never fully recover and get whatever the F is wrong with them? Yeah, no, man, I really don't think I could, I don't think I can like kill another person. Like that would just be too much for me. Oh, cool. Foggyland is Hungarian as well. No, see ya. Very cool. I think there's a few people on my channel that are Hungarian, so it's really cool. Let's see. Trick Shot Squad says hi. Hi. Ask Vegan, would you call somebody who is 99% vegan a vegan? Yeah, Brian says, what's 99? That's kind of my reaction to that. That's like vegetable police, and we sort of just covered that, right? Like at the beginning, if anybody missed it. You know, he's saying that he's vegan for 10 years, but then he's admitting that he's like cheated. That to me just really proves that he's actually not vegan. He's just looking at it as like he's following a vegan diet, but he doesn't actually believe in kind of like veganism as a philosophy, or clearly doesn't understand kind of the true motives of what veganism is. You can eat a whole food plant-based diet, and if you're eating 99%, you know, whole food plant-based, I'd say, yeah, you're whole food plant-based. That's why I kind of even don't like that term, because like in my mind, the people on the Isle of Crete in the 30s eating 93% plants for their calories, they were whole food plant-based. You know, I think anything when you're eating 90% or more of your calories from, you know, plants, then yeah, you're whole food plant-based. But like, you know, what's that other 10% coming from? And so I certainly wouldn't say that person is a vegan. Let's see what other things. Oh, and it says, I like the debate where Friend Dead debated Tim Jong-un and Liam Anthony, and Free William jumped on and wrecked him, but so did Liam and Tim. I haven't seen that one. I'll have to go watch that. I really liked the one that it wasn't my debate. It was Wavy Carbs when he came on with you guys, Jack and Logan. That one was awesome. Like Wavy Carbs was just brutal in that one. He was so good. He just did really great in that one. That was a very enjoyable debate to watch. If anybody hasn't seen that one, go check that out. S Vegan says maybe still uses a perfume that's not vegan or something like that. Oh, okay, so they're not even they're not consuming the animal product per se. They're using it for something else, or maybe they're wearing shoes that are made from leather or something. I guess, you know, it's like if you have non-vegan products already before you've made the ethical connection and you still use them up, I don't really have any problem with that. It's like I think that person could still be vegan, but if they're continually going out and buying perfume that's like non-vegan, I would certainly say that that's not vegan. So yeah, Carnival, hey man, He says, want to debate veganism and ethics. My premise, veganism has not proved to be ethical. Yeah, we'll definitely debate that. I'll be happy to do that. I've been watching some of your other videos, and I watched the ones that you did on the Name the Trait, and happy to debate your logic on that. I think it's a little bit flawed. So we can get into that. I'll message you, and I'll set up a time. We can talk about that. It'll probably be in about a week because I'm going on vacation and I might not really have like internet access and stuff over next week. So I'll be in touch. Kathy says, I thought your debate with Millennial Prepster was good. Yeah, that one actually was really good too. I did enjoy that one too. You say he might be vegan one day. Maybe, yeah. I think he's very close if he's telling the truth, if he's really only eating the rabbits that he's raising. Vohan says, not stabbing animals is not ethical. Yeah, sorry, that must have been a reply to Carnival. Race lover, imposters like vegetable police that flip-flop are extremely hurtful to veganism movement. I would absolutely agree with that, and that's kind of why I didn't really want to bash the guy too much, but I do get frustrated, and I did get kind of upset when I saw this nonsense coming from his channel, because a lot of people look at that and I think he is kind of the wet dream of like Sverge and no offense, but Carnival too, that it kind of proves their kind of like horribly misinformed, like misguided impressions of veganism. And all the people that are like interviewed by Sverge, these like ex-vegans where they've, claim all these kind of health problems and stuff when really they were just doing stuff like under eating and doing other kind of silly things. So, I think that is harmful, and it kind of gives ammunition where none is really needed because people already have kind of like a bad enough impression of veganism. But hopefully that is changing with, more and more people showing that that you can be extremely healthy and happy on a vegan diet. Let's see. Brian says, Carnival, your fallacies aren't as good as you think they are. Yeah, I would kind of agree, but I'll be happy to debate them. Marshall Lee, I wouldn't overestimate their effect race. I feel you, though. I'm helping peeps go vegan left and right and center, and none of them will ever have heard of the YouTube vegan niche. Yeah, I definitely think, like, the more people talk, about, their own diet when they're asked, and just in real life, like at work, I've definitely gotten a few people to go vegan, and it's been really awesome. I've done a presentation about some of the health benefits and got a lot of people interested, and definitely some people looking to eat more plant-based, if nothing else. And as a start, I think that's great. Cool, yeah, Carnival. I'll definitely send you a message on it. We'll get something set up. Let's see. Foggy9 says, "What's up, Carnival? I can argue against your points. I wrote you multiple comments, but you did not answer. Up for discussion sometime." Yeah, hit him up. Hit up Foggy Flatland too. It's got some good stuff. Carnival needs a helmet to safely tie his shoes. Even then, it's dangerous for him. Race says. Kathy says, "I was so disappointed with vegetable police." Yeah, I think a lot of people were. Me too. Andrew Matthias, I want to ask about popular diet in my country. It's called OCD, which we just eat food once per day. Can we eat anything or everything as we want? They give me range time to eat. What do you think? So basically like a shortened eating window, intermittent fasting kind of thing. Basically, what do I think about this? I think I'm certainly not a fan of it. I love eating. I pretty much joke around that I actually, live to eat and not the other way around. I certainly wouldn't want to only be eating once a day. I think intermittent fasting for a lot of people is just kind of an easier way for them to stick to a calorie restriction diet, and that's why it helps them kind of lose or maintain weight. I think for some people, like for me too, like I've always liked eating a good amount of food, and what I mean by that is probably too much food. I kind of like that feeling of having a lot of food in my stomach. So for me, that could potentially help me in the sense that when I was eating an omnivorous diet, I found that to maintain my healthy body weight, the weight that I liked, to be active and running and doing all this kind of stuff that I like doing, like climbing, I basically had to go to sleep hungry at night. I found that if I actually ate when I was hungry, I would probably eat more calories than I actually should, and I would be gaining weight. I would be gaining fat. And so for me, pretty much if I wanted to really be kind of under, say, 190 pounds-ish, which is I don't know, whatever that is, like what is that, mid to upper 80 kilos, something like that, I would pretty much have to go to sleep hungry. And what I find now with a largely whole food plant-based diet, I can actually pretty much just eat like whenever I feel hungry, and I don't put on the weight. So I think the restricting the window, what it actually allows you to do is to feel full, because you're eating this huge amount of food in one sitting. And I think for people who like that feeling, Carrie says, yeah, she likes to feel stuffed like when you're eating a big meal. For people like that, I mean, it could be great. I've been successful now with my whole food plant-based diet. I just eat pretty much, whenever I'm hungry, and it works out good. But for somebody who that feeling needs to really be there, that they're eating a big meal, that could be really good. But I think the reason why it works for most people is that basically it's allowing them to eat a big meal, but still overall for the whole day probably have a calorie deficit. So that's probably why it's working. Race and carnivore are getting at the trait that makes someone think eating animals is more ethical than just as ethical as veganism is called stupidity. Let's save that for the debate. Let's see. Carnival set up a hangout, and you can talk with Foggy Flatland or Brian Kenny. Okay. Go at it, guys. And I'm happy to do it too later. Carnival says name betrayed is a pure fallacy, a dishonest trick. Anyway, Real Family Journey. Hey, thanks for joining. If anybody doesn't know Real Family Journey, check them out, especially anybody with kids or with, like people who, know people who are trying to do a vegan transition with kids. Check out their channel. They have a couple kids, and they do wonderful videos about veganism too. So check them out. And I have them on Twitter as well. I follow them there. So they have wonderful recipes. Check them out. And yeah, you're saying you couldn't eat once a day either. Eat regularly. Yeah, I think that's probably just a little bit more easy to follow for most people. Bohan. Yeah, you guys can talk with Carnival. Yeah, you're welcome. Anybody else? Any questions? Check-in time. It looks like we've been on for a little over an hour now. It's been pretty good. Lots of good questions. Carl says he's been blocked by Isaac. I'm assuming there were some pretty funny comments. I actually watched one of your videos, Carnival, where you talked about him blocking you and stuff. Yeah, he's a bit of an interesting person as well, I would say. Angry Vegan. Do I think coffee is unhealthy? I don't know about coffee, honestly. I don't like coffee, so I don't like the taste of it. I think in my whole life till this point, I probably had 5 coffees. So in my 40 years of living, that's not very many coffees. I don't like the taste of it. I don't like coffee ice cream. I don't like coffee anything. So for me, it's easy to just be like, yeah, I don't care and I don't drink it. But I don't think it's unnecessary, like that it's necessarily unhealthy or healthy. I think, I don't know, I've seen so many studies about it, and like some people say that it's healthy and some people will say that it's not. And I haven't really been convinced one way or the other. I just think if you enjoy drinking coffee, as long as, you feel okay and you're not twitching from it and you're not feeling addiction pangs and stuff. Like if you wake up in the morning and you can't function without your cup of coffee, then I think it's fine. If you feel that way, I would kind of challenge you to think well, maybe that's not that good. But I certainly, even with that, I certainly wouldn't say that it's unhealthy, because I just haven't really seen anything convincing about that to say that it is. Ray Slayer says he has one thing in common with Carnival, being blocked by Ask Yourself. Yeah, I think he's just blocked so many people that it's I don't know if I can really take him seriously at this point. I don't really think he's really that interested in having honest discussions with people. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan. Marshall Lee, coffee beans are magic, but too much comes at a price. Yeah, that's that probably is a good summary. I think for some people, they might benefit from it, and I've seen stuff where like people say it helps bone health. I've seen studies where it says the opposite. It's really hard. I haven't been able to make up my mind about it, and I guess I'm not interested enough in it to do more research, just because I don't drink it myself. So it's kind of like it's easy for me to just like not worry about it. And you quit coffee, Racelar, for 5 days. How's it been, man? Like, do you get the pangs? Do you get that kind of like twitching, jittery kind of stuff? Hey, Jesse Hitman, how's it going, man? What have you missed? We talked about vegetable police an awful lot. Yeah, lots of cool questions. People had some good stuff. I wish I knew how to pronounce your name, because basically looking at it, I'm assuming that it might be more like Yese. I actually just met somebody in jiu-jitsu, and they pronounced their name like that. They were Brazilian, and so I think maybe it's like Portuguese, but I'm not sure. If I'm saying Jesse, then don't take offense if I'm saying it wrong, please. Yeah, you're saying it's cool, so stop drinking coffee. I haven't noticed any issues quitting coffee. That's good. I mean, I think if people are getting kind of like withdrawal, then I think that's kind of a good indication that maybe that's not good for them. But let's see. Angry Vegan, what do you think of the potato diet? I personally, wouldn't want to be on it, or not for a long period of time anyway. I've watched some of, Dr. McDougall's, things about potato diets. I've watched the Spud Fit guy, I think is his name, who only ate potatoes for like the year or however long it was. And, excuse me. Oh, cool. Hesse, but don't mind how people say it. Okay, cool. Well, I'll try to remember that. And, yeah, so like, can it be done, and can you be healthy? It seems like it. I did look into, just some of, like the nutrition information. So if you just go into like a, chronometer type thing and put in enough calories from potatoes, are you going to get enough everything, vitamin C and, all the B vitamins and everything. And it definitely seems like, especially with like sweet potatoes or other things like that, like it seems like you can. And, obviously, I mean, that guy Spudfit did it, and other people have kind of done it. And especially for short periods of time, I think, people can do it and do very well on it. You had the, what's the magician guy's name? Penn, from Penn and Teller. Like, he went on it, and, the guy from, Silent Bob, what's his name? Smith, what's the guy's name? Is it Kevin Smith? I think it's Kevin Smith. Like, he went on it for a little bit after his heart attack. So I think, like, yeah, it could be really good. But, I just think if people get bored of something, then they're not going to really be, sticking to it for long. So I just think maybe just eating potatoes would be kind of boring. But as an elimination diet, as something to start and just kind of like reset your taste buds and all this kind of stuff, I think it could be like wonderful. I definitely want to do more research into the like the rice diet for healing, the Kemper diet. Dr. Greger has videos on that where the guy was doing these really amazing experiments, like back in I think that was like the 50s, curing people of diabetes and all this kind of stuff. And they were just eating rice and some couple vitamins and minerals, and then I think he was giving them some sugar for additional calories. And he was able to produce pretty amazing results. So I think for something like that, where somebody's already sick and needs to do a reset, I think it could be really great. But I certainly don't think it's necessary for people if they're generally healthy and they're just trying to get into a more healthy or a more ethical diet and just get into veganism. I think just going the whole food plant-based route is a big enough challenge for people. I think for the most part, like going into potato only mode would be kind of difficult. Hope that answered your question. Let's see. Did I see Kalel's video? I don't even know who that is. She claims to be 98% vegan. Thoughts? We actually talked about this a little bit before, but I think if somebody's 90 whatever percent vegan, then they're not really vegan. They're just largely or mostly plant-based. I think they're definitely on the right path, and they should just keep going to to get all the way there. That's my opinion. But I don't know who that is. I'll have to like look that up, or maybe send me a link or put it in the comments or something later. I'll check it out. Okay, sorry. S Vegan asked that question, and Hesse was replying to that. Sorry. And Kathy says, yeah, so many ex-vegan vids lately. Yeah, it's pretty sad because I think most of them are just kind of laughable and ridiculous. With the vegetable police one, I mean, we covered that at the beginning, but I think that one kind of hits home a little bit more because just his claim to have been vegan for so much longer and so many vegans following him, I think is just kind of like a big platform that he's spewing a lot of ridiculousness. It's pretty harmful. Angry Vegan says, I don't know why Kalel would want to consume dairy. She knows it's cruel and contains pus. I like Kalel, but she's weak. S Vegan says, we are all weak sometimes. No. Yeah, but again, like veganism is not a diet. If somebody thinks about it as just a diet, it's kind of like when I was like an omnivorous diet eating person, like I would just think like, I would follow a diet. I would try to lose weight. I would try to be like running and stay fit and go to the gym and all this kind of stuff. And then occasionally I would have like a cheat meal. And when you just think of a diet, like yeah, you can have a cheat meal and it's fine. Like if you're just looking at it from health, if you're doing the right thing, eating healthy foods like 98% of the time, or even let's just say 90% of the time, that's enough to be healthy. Like if you ate 9 great meals and then you had one kind of like not so great meal, you'd still be really healthy. I mean, the problem is that most people very quickly fall from that into just eating unhealthy all the time. So I think if you're just looking at it as a dietary thing, like 98% whole food plant-based, you're going to be really fantastically healthy. It doesn't even really matter what you're eating for the other 2% of your calories. Like if you're just eating straight up Twinkies for the other 2%, you'd probably still be really healthy. But it's not about the health argument when you're talking about veganism. It's about the ethical argument. Vegans are not weak enough to let 1% stop them. Yeah, I think, all the stats I see from, countries is that veganism is definitely on the rise and it's getting to be over 1% in most places now. So it's good. S Vegan says she is passionate about animal rights. That is why she is vegan. Again, I don't know who she is. I'll have to check her out. Can't really comment on this, but I don't like the idea of somebody claiming to be vegan if they're drinking dairy. If that's true, I really don't know. Yeah, Race put it right. I think no such thing as a halfway crook. Exactly. And she probably will. I don't know if you mean probably will give up eating dairy, but that would be good. Angry Vegan at S Vegan. Yeah, not passionate enough to stop paying people to stab animals. If someone occasionally beat their dog, would you say they're passionate about animal rights? When she does, she'll be vegan. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, that's kind of the way I feel about it too. I'll have to check that out. I don't even know who that is. What kind of stuff does she work on? Maybe I'll do a quick search. I have no idea who this is. She's got a lot of followers. She's got 1 million, almost 2 million people subscribed. Wow. Like, that's a lot of people. Her first video that comes up when I clicked on the channel is vegan food you must try. So that sounds good. She's got a video called Coming Clean. Yeah, I wonder if that's the one about being vegan. Okay, and then she says, am I not really vegan? 4 or 5. Okay, well, I'll check out some of this stuff. I mean, I don't really know. Okay. Yeah, Lee's in agreement. Angry says she has over 1 million views. Yeah, she's got a lot of followers, so I wouldn't be surprised if, like, that's also kind of like giving this misleading message, like we were talking about with Vegetable Police. A lot of people follow him, and then they just get this kind of like, mixed message, like, oh, I'm vegan for 10 years, but then he's admitting that he's been eating like fish and I don't know, whatever else he's talked about, crickets and who knows whatever else, eggs. Yeah, I would agree, Race. It's sending a mixed message, and it's definitely not helpful. It is harmful. She has particular items she uses that aren't vegan, but she's looking for replacements. It says Hesse. Yeah, I mean, stuff like this, I just think like, I mean, what are they like? Like if it's like a beauty product or something, it kind of looks like that might be the case. I don't know, just based on the thumbnails of her channel. I would just say that that's absolutely ridiculous. Like, I mean, like a shampoo or perfume or something like that. Like, I would absolutely never consider that as being something important. If I don't know if she's talking about maybe some medication or something like, and maybe it was tested on animals or something like that, could certainly be a much more, you know, acceptable like gray area or something. But if it's like, oh, I can't give up my makeup routine or something because it's like the best thing I found, like, I mean, that I would absolutely not take as a good excuse. Star Trek versus Star Wars, or Star Wars, Vohan asks. I actually was never a fan of Star Wars. I saw it as a kid and probably just, you know, not at the right age to have seen it. I just didn't think it was cool. I think the acting was like horrible, and yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Star Wars. Hopefully that doesn't alienate people, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of Star Wars. Star Trek I really liked. I watched the Star Trek Next Generation like pretty heavily, like as a probably like a, I don't know, middle schooler, high schooler, like I think probably, and I really enjoyed that. I never watched any of the other ones, and I don't really watch any TV now. So yeah, like I guess just during that point in my life, I was watching a lot of TV, and I definitely watched the Star Trek Next Generation. And I watched the new Star Wars movies, like, you know, as an adult, obviously, and I just thought those were terrible too. I'm not a fan of the acting. I guess I'm just not a fan of Spielberg, probably. Angry Vegan says, I'm sure Vegan Cheetah will include her under his vegan umbrella. Yeah, that's, you know, I kind of said in the beginning, like, I don't really like slagging people, or I don't really like, you know, especially like infighting among like vegan people. But yeah, the Vegan Cheetah is just not somebody that I really like as well. Race says Trek Wars. I don't know what Trek Wars is. Angry Vegan says she buys dairy chocolate on purpose. Yeah, that pretty much just like, yeah, that's totally not vegan. And then S Vegan is defending, saying angry very rarely, apparently. Wow. I think, again, very rarely, and then replace it with any kind of other immoral, you know, kind of unnecessarily cruel act, and that's my answer to that. Vohan's laughing. Angry Vegan says, I prefer Star Trek The Next Generation. Yeah, me too. That was a good show. Generally, if you or Mrs. decided not to be vegan, would you still be vegan and together? Wow, okay, that's an interesting question. I don't think she would decide not to be vegan. Do you mean like she's already vegan and then she changes her mind like Vegetable Police and decides like, I need to start eating animal products again? If that's what you mean, I would get extremely upset, I'm sure. I would absolutely want like some kind of like discussion on that, and I would, you know, for sure try to, you know, get to the bottom of why she feels that way. I don't view that as being any kind of like, you know, likelihood of happening at this point. She's pretty, you know, a compassionate person, and I think she definitely gets the like the ethical connection and everything like that. Okay, no, you're saying no if she never was. So this is actually kind of funny because I actually went vegan first, and what happened is her brother has actually been vegetarian for, I don't even know, but like decades. I think probably like 20 plus years, maybe, like since a long time. Actually, probably longer than that, actually. Yeah, probably closer to like 30 years. Like I think he pretty much stopped eating meat and like when he was a school kid. And so for her, like vegetarianism was never kind of like odd or weird. And when we were together and still eating animal products, like there were lots of days where we ate like vegetarian meals just because like I had been already kind of consuming less meat, but I was still eating a lot of animal products. So I was still eating like lots of eggs and dairy, and we would often make things like pasta and stuff like that, and throw like cheese and things like that in it, or you know. So we were eating a lot of animal products, but certainly she was never a big like meat eater. And there were like, I would say like in a week there were probably maybe like, we were down to maybe like 3 days a week, maybe 2 days a week sometimes, where we would eat meat, and the other days would be like pretty much vegetarian, I guess. And we were doing that for probably, say, at least a year or two before I actually became vegan. And yeah, so basically after I decided to become vegan, I actually kind of had been looking at researching a lot of like the health aspects of veganism. And for anybody who doesn't know, I've covered this in a few videos, but like my son, when he was around 2 years old, he stopped eating meat. And we were very concerned. Like at that time, I kind of thought that that was necessary for good health. And we were worried that he would be kind of like deficient or, you know, have some kind of health problems as a consequence of that. And we were trying to do all sorts of stuff to try to get him to eat meat. So we were like blending it into stuff or putting it in soups or, you know, other kinds of things. But he just, like, I don't know, he could just sniff it out or something, and he just refused to eat anything with meat in it. He would just literally get like repulsed by it and kind of spit it out or like start gagging. And up until that point, he had no problem with it. So it was just this very odd thing. And I started researching it, and I got into really kind of like looking at a lot of athletes that are vegans. And I remember, like, you know, I had already known about Scott Jurek. Essay says he's a smart kid. Yeah, he is. He's very bright. He just turned 6, and man, you talk to him, he's just like a fully baked like adult. I mean, he's very, very sharp. Like, I'll tell a funny story after this about him. But anyway, so he started, like getting very picky about what he was eating, and we were very worried. So we thought, like, you know, what are we going to do? And I think when he was around, it was like a year later, like he had already, basically not eaten meat for like almost a year. And we did feed him other things. So he was eating like eggs and things like that. But mostly, I think pretty much eggs. I think that was like largely it of like what he ate. That was animal based, and he just wouldn't eat anything else. But he would eat like other stuff. So we were, you know, having no problem feeding him like other like fruits and veggies, and he was eating other things. So I started researching it, and I was getting into like a lot of the health aspects and some of the athletes like Scott Jurek I had known about already from my like interest in running. And I started just getting more and more into reading about people who were kind of like big ultra distance runners on fruit, and kind of started like checking out people like Mike Arnstein and, you know, all this kind of stuff, and just reading more about it. And then I started kind of like watching more and more videos by like vegan people online as well. And I saw a video, it was actually by Freely, where she was responding to Russell Brand, because I was a fan of Russell Brand, and I like watching his stuff. And she was calling him out on, you know, the being a vegetarian as opposed to being a vegan. And she was showing the kind of systemic like abuses that go on against like chicks in the egg industry, and the dairy industry obviously is like incredibly cruel. And to be honest, like I had seen some footage about like that kind of stuff like earlier on, probably when I was in college even. And it had never really moved me, because all the footage I had seen, it was always like these kind of one-off cases where somebody's like clearly abusing animals. So it was like somebody like punching like a baby calf in the face and horrible stuff like this. But in my mind, I was always able to like sweep that away from my conscience by just simply thinking of it as like, well, you know, that's just a crazy psychopath. Like that has nothing to do with like the production of the milk. That's just somebody going crazy and doing all this kind of like horrible stuff to animals. And that it was not like a systemic abuse. It was just like an individual, like bad actor kind of thing. And I kind of like, you know, soothed my my inner kind of worries with that. But when I saw the clips that she had in her video, Freely had this stuff like where, you know, she had like the baby chicks being ground up in the egg industry videos, and like the calves being taken away from their moms and stuff like that. And that really touched me. I mean, it was like, it's very powerful to watch. And the reason why it got to me is because I'm very much this like logical kind of like systematic kind of person. And what I realized at that point was that, yes, this is not a question of individual abuse. This is not a question of one psychopathic person. This is a system that's been developed by several people, probably, you know, as an engineer. Like I kind of know like somebody at some point designed the little grinder. Somebody at some point paid for that design. Somebody at some point approved that as like a company thing. Somebody at some point voted that in as like, a regulatory thing that like people can do that in the industry. And when I started thinking about all this kind of stuff, then you realize like it is a system. It has nothing to do with an abuse. The whole thing is corrupt. The whole thing is immoral, and it's not just one kind of bad actor. So when I realized that, I watched that video. I went home that night, and I said to my wife, I said, I got to try, being vegan. And I remember very distinctly, I still didn't think that I would actually become vegan then. It was like just this thing of like, I'm going to not eat animal products because I don't want to contribute to this like horrible factory, farming and mechanized abuse. But that someday, I'll have land and I'll have my own farm and I'll keep my own chickens and I'll keep my own goats and I'll eat animal products then. That's what I first started off with. And then just very quickly, like after, probably about 3-4 weeks, my initial idea was like, I'll try a vegan diet for like 3 months and see how I feel. And if I feel good, then I'll feel better about like my son not eating meat. And then, then it would allay my fears of like him being like nutritionally deficient. And what happened is after about 3 weeks, and the whole time during that time too, I kept researching it. And then I got into like Dr. Greger's videos and like, started reading up on all this stuff and reading the studies that support this kind of science and, or this claim that it's, actually healthier to avoid animal products. And then I just, completely changed my mind. And I just realized like, wow, it's like, it's not even just a question of being as healthy. And once I realized that I can be as healthy and in fact healthier, then I just decided like, yeah, this is like a complete like win. Like it's ethically way better. It's, way healthier. It's way better for the environment. Like never going back to eating animal products. And, I gave up like all the stuff, like, overnight, like, I think just that first 2 weeks, like I kind of missed dairy. Like I used to drink like a liter of milk a day, like no problem. And I just missed that for like 2 weeks. And then after that, all my cravings were gone. I never craved anything else, just the milk, and started drinking the dairy milk, or sorry, the plant-based milk, and never missed the dairy. And after that, so it was like pretty much that was it. And then I'll tell the funny story about my son. But here, there's another question. Did I see the Game Changers? Yeah, I know about it. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know if it's actually released yet. I will definitely love to see that. And there's a lot of great athletes in there. And I think that will be a game changer. I think that will wake up a lot of people to see that you can be very fit and very healthy following a whole food plant-based diet. And Hesse, you're absolutely right. Scott Jurek and Rich Roll are awesome. Those guys are really cool. And John Joseph is really cool too. If anybody hasn't seen stuff from him, that guy's pretty awesome as well. Hesse says, is Carnival still here? He said fruit makes his back hurt and he can't digest kale. Yeah. Don't eat those things, I guess, like if they hurt your back. But I would be kind of shocked to hear anybody whose back hurts from eating fruit. I can't really believe that. So funny story about my son. My parents are not vegan, and they are very much not vegan. And one day when, they were visiting, my mom had brought over some food for themselves that was, it was basically a meatloaf kind of thing, or like a liver pate, or I don't even know what it was. I think it was a liver pate. But anyway, my son had thought it was some kind of pastry because of just the form it was baked in. And he asked my mom, like, hey, is that pastry? And she's like, no, it's meat. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I don't want any. And I think he was around 5 when this happened. So she says to him, like, why not? You should try it. It's tasty. And I wasn't here. Like, I wasn't in the room when this was happening. And I just found out about it after. And he's like, no, like, I don't want to eat it. And she's like, why not? Like, he's like, I don't want to hurt the animals. And she's like, but, like God gave the animals to us so we could, like, use them and eat them. And he's like, no, I think they're here so we could play with them. And I just thought that was like so awesome. He just like shut her down completely. And it's just like, just such pure wisdom and like the beauty of a kid. Like, I just, I don't know, man. Like, I'm so proud of my kids, both of them. Like, my daughter, like, she's so smart too. And just, they say stuff sometimes where you, oh, Lee's taking off. Hey, it was great having you on, man. Cool. Take care. just when kids say stuff like this, it just really gets to me. I don't know. They're just so smart sometimes. They really know things that I think as we grow older, we just forget these things, and then it takes us like some kind of stroke of miracle, like a genius to like figure out stuff that like we knew when we were kids. It's just kind of ridiculous. So anyway, let's see what other stuff here. Kathy says heard Game Changers is coming in the fall. Yeah, that would be great. I'd love to see that movie. I've seen a few clips from it, and I think it looks really promising. Generally says, nice. Colleen Patrick Goudreau has a list of 10 steps new vegans go through, and the first is information consumption. That really resonated with me. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was like watching all the documentaries. I was watching like tons of videos, and I was reading like lots of studies. And, I started reading the Dr. Greger book and just a whole bunch of stuff like online articles and medical journals and, just tons of stuff, like reading a lot of books and like things about health and watching like videos by Dr. McDougall and all this kind of stuff. So Kathy says, my kids sound awesome. Yeah, they are. I'm like so like proud of them. They're just really, I don't know, they're pretty magical. I think Real Family Journey. Yeah, he does have it all figured out. My kids are just like, sometimes they scare my wife and I because my daughter's 3, my son is 6, and they just say stuff that they're just, it's like they're little adults. They just know like what's going on, and like they already have their lives kind of like planned out. Like it's amazing. Like I don't know where they kind of have it so together that they can like just kind of say some of the stuff they do. It's pretty amazing. All right, guys. I think it's midnight for me. I think it's getting just about time to wrap it up. So I'll say maybe one last call for questions, and then I might have to call it a day here. Anybody else? Any questions? All right. Well, I appreciate everybody being on. It was a lot of fun. Thank you for the questions. I think there were some really good ones, and I hope to do this again in the future. Like I said, it is tough to keep up with people like when I'm doing the, like the debates and the, guest spots and stuff. I just can't focus that much on like reading everybody's comments, but I do miss them. And a lot of times, afterward I go through and I read them. So, it's not like lost on me. I do try to read through everybody. And then, I just thought that this forum would be kind of like fun for you guys as well. So, hopefully we can do it again. Let's see. What do you think of the Liberation Pledge? Angry Vegan. Is that the thing where you don't eat with people who are not eating vegan meals? I think that's what that is, but I am not sure. Hesse, yes, I definitely will do more of these. My thought was that I did launch a Patreon page, and I know for some people, even a $1 donation might be a challenge. So I will definitely do some more of these, just fully open. But I also want to do something where if people support me on Patreon for the $1 a month, I want to do more of these. So I'll do one of these every month. And my idea is that I post the link to the patrons, and then it's easy to just have the smaller group of people in there. I can really respond to everybody. And then, I'll still probably publish the video afterwards so other people can see it. But, I'll probably do some more open ones like this, but they'll probably be slightly less frequent than the monthly. That's my plan at this point anyway. S Vegan says, what would you do if one of the kids didn't want to be vegan? So I guess that is really kind of a question for when they're older, because when they're at home, it's you're making their food, so it's pretty easy to control that. It is a challenge because my son's already been in preschool, and they don't have a vegan meal option there, so it's difficult. And a lot of the other kids in the class, they are obviously not vegan. He is the only one who eats vegan. And it's difficult. I mean, sometimes he gets frustrated because if we are out and about in the city and we go by a pastry shop or something, or even just like an ice cream shop, there's a lot of times vegan options that you can get. And, you know, you go into like a place and you can tell him like, okay, you can choose one of these 4 things, and you show him the 4 vegan options. And, you know, he's like, but I want that thing. And then you tell him like, well, but that has cow's milk in it. And then he's like, you know, usually he's like, okay, then I don't want that. And then he like wants to get the ones that you showed him. But every once in a while, like maybe those 4 things, you know, aren't appealing to him. It's like, it's not what he wants to eat. And it's a little bit difficult to, you know, to basically like try to deal with that, like a little 5-6-year-old kid, like if, you know, he wants, you know, something else. So my wife and I have, you know, little tricks that we can do, you know, to try to encourage him, say like, look, you know, if you don't want that, we'll get you something else later. Or, you know, maybe just say like, you know, don't worry about it, we're going to get something on the way home, or, you know, something else just to get him kind of through it. And usually he's okay with that. And usually we can find something that'll work. When they get older, I think, you know, some of that pressure might be more difficult to, you know, deal with, like depending on, you know, like school or friends or, you know, other external pressures. I think really just as they get older, my intention and my wife's intention is that we can show them more kind of things that really solidify the ethical argument, so that they understand why we're doing it, and not just like, oh, it's unhealthy, because like that's not a good enough argument, especially for a kid. Like saying something is unhealthy, that's like, it doesn't even mean anything to them. Like, and you know, they're just not going to think about that. Like they're not even going to really understand that. Even if you do kind of understand it, it's not a good enough reason for me to not eat like, you know, chocolate ice cream or something. Like most adults wouldn't even take that. So yeah, I think like, you know, I think showing them the ethical side is going to be the way to go. And, you know, giving them kind of something to look at as far as like, you know, like the factory farming, like videos and stuff, show them the truth. And then I don't want to show, you know, my 5-year-old kid, my 3-year-old daughter, you know, 6-year-old son, like slaughterhouse footage. But like when they get older and they start, you know, if they start questioning it, and if they want to understand more deeply, like why we believe what we believe, then I will show them that stuff and, you know, try to make sure that they understand it. Real family journey. It's mind blowing, isn't it? My kids floor me sometimes. Yeah, with their wisdom. Absolutely. Kathy says, thanks. Yeah, you're very welcome. And thank you for being on. Hesse says, get on Streamlabs. I have no idea what Streamlabs is. Being in IT, it's so funny. I'm like so not hip to all the stuff that's going on. I like just got on Twitter like a few months ago. That was like the most like social media that I like am aware of. But yeah, cool. Okay, guys. My voice is kind of going on me. I'm going to have to get some more water soon. And I think, yeah, it's been awesome. I've been really happy to have everybody on. And yeah, we'll do this again sometime. And if anybody can support me, yeah, that'll definitely be very much appreciated. So check out my Patreon link. I'll put it in the description of this video too. I don't think I did yet, but I'll do that later. And it's, you know, it's definitely something that will be hopefully helpful because, like I said, I did give my notice at work, so we'll see. But I have big plans for the channel. I think there's gonna be a lot of fun stuff that you guys will appreciate. I have some t-shirt designs kind of in the works, and I have a like an intro video like that I drew, or I've kind of partially started drawing. So there's a lot of stuff that I needed more time, and you know, I think hopefully come September I'll definitely have more time to devote to the channel. Streamlabs is like Super Chat, but takes 5%. Super Chat takes 30. Wow, okay. Yeah, I don't even think my channel is available for Super Chat. So that's not even an option for me. You have to be above a certain number of subscribers. I think you need 1,000 subscribers or something like that. So we'll see. But I don't know, slowly but surely. I think the channel's grown really well. So I'll look into that too. Okay. Thanks for the tip. Will you continue my channel after the world goes vegan? Oh man, that's a great question, Angry Vegan. I absolutely think I would, and let's hope that it does, and let's hope it definitely goes within our lifetime. But if it did, I think I would still do it because it's really fun, and I would still do like the gardening and the cooking videos because those are a lot of fun, and I think they're an easy way to, you know, kind of motivate people to look more into kind of like having fun with the diet and still be, you know, ethical in their lifestyle. So yeah, cool, man. Thanks, SA. I'll definitely look into it. He's saying that you can be monetized, or you don't need to be monetized to use it for the Streamlabs. Okay, I'll take a look. Thanks for the tip. All right, guys, I think that's it. So thanks everybody for your questions, and really appreciate everybody's support. And you know, we'll keep making videos. I have some more ideas cooking, so I'm looking forward to it. And see you guys next time. Bye.